I see what the problem was. I just finished explaining to you guys that I was having a problem with the chat, but the problem was the flipping stream hadn't started yet. I thought I'd hit the button and I had hit the wrong one. But Sergeant Major has first blood this morning. We're going to be talking about cash because cash is king. Let's do this. All right, good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you have a hot cup of coffee. To go ahead and dig into this with us this morning. If you haven't already done it, go ahead and tap that thumbs up button wherever you're watching. And if you're not already following or subscribed, please do so. This morning, we're going to be talking about money. And, y'all, I ain't gonna lie, I like money. I do. I am a devout capitalist. I live in the united theocracy of capitalism where the dollar is almighty God and possessions are 9/10 of your commandments. It's a good place to be if you take care of yourself, take good care of your financial responsibilities and keep on top of it and work and make damn money. Now that said, I have some concerns. I have some serious concerns, not least of which is the rapid acceleration toward a cashless society. Now, Sergeant Major makes a good point. He says, I like cash, but it costs money for retail stores to count and handle cash. It also costs retail stores money in service fees to use other than cash. They have to pay processing fees on all your plastic transactions. And it's also important to understand, especially when you're talking about, trying to be a responsible steward of your finances. When you carry cash, right? Dave Ramsey talks about this. Let me back up just a little bit. The wife and I are doing the Financial Peace University for Dave Ramsey right now. We're in a pretty good place right now, but Ramsey offered to give away 1 year of free access to the Financial Peace University for veterans as a gift on Veterans Day, and I said, sure, I'll try it out. It would be foolish to look at, hey, this is a free education. And the way I figure it, I know about the baby steps, I know about the snowball technique, and I already know about a lot of this stuff because I went through like a miniature version of Financial Peace University when shortly after I was first enlisted. It was when I first got to Hawaii. They made us sit through it as soldiers. They said, okay, young soldiers, here you go. And they stuck me in a room with a bunch of young soldiers. And at the time I was like, young soldiers. Okay. So I was 27. I was about 27, and we get the Financial Peace University thing, and Dave goes through it. He's like, okay, first you got to have $1,000 in the bank for your emergency fund. I'm like, okay, that's too easy. I just re-enlisted, so I have 2 enlistment bonuses that just got paid out at the same time. And you got to have no credit card debt. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have any credit card debt, and we went through the whole thing. But I got I got to go through the early part of it. Well, so the wife and I are going through it again now to see if mostly to see if what we can get out of it. And yesterday we were watching one of the lessons, one of the speeches, and he talks about. I should have set this up beforehand and had a wad of money but anyway. So Ramsey's standing there with cash in one hand and plastic in the other, and explains, one of the things about cash is it hurts to spend money. Like this is a baked in psychological experience. When you use cash, you take money and you give it to somebody, and they give you a product or they provide a service. But when you use cash, you let go of something and it's gone. You spend it. When you use plastic, it doesn't hurt as much. The pain center of your brain isn't stimulated, right? When you make a transaction with cash, the pain center is stimulated by the loss of the cash, and then you get the dopamine hit when you receive the product. You get the thing you wanted. It hurts a little bit. It feels good, but it hurts a little bit. When you do it with a credit card or debit card, they hand you back the debit card or the credit card. You don't get the pain. But you still get the dopamine hit, right? And then even worse, if you're using like Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever with your phone, they don't even take it and give it back to you. It never even leaves your hand. So cash hurts a lot, plastic hurts not enough, and this makes you feel like they're just giving you stuff. On a deep psychological level, that's a good way to get yourself in trouble, especially if you've got that hooked up to credit cards and you're letting it spend money you don't have. Now, what's happening right now, there's some scary stuff going on. And there's a couple reasons that I want to talk about this morning. Over the last couple weeks, so I'm out all day. I drive an average of 200 miles a day out shooting real estate property photos and all that. I spend a lot of time on the road, and I end up having to grab lunch while I'm out on the road working often, because I'm going to leave this morning, I'm going to leave the house as soon as we shut the show off at 8:00, and I won't be home until probably 5 or 6 at the earliest, and I'll be on the road driving the majority of that time, going from house to house to house. I'll shoot a half a dozen houses, and I'll spend 30 minutes to an hour between houses on the road. I love Panda Express. It's good. It's tasty. And it's $10, right? I can go in and get a plate of food for about $10-11. Plate of food, a bottle of water. And that's hard to beat. Like, go to Mickey D's, get you a Big Mac meal, it's about $10. The food's not as good, and it's not as much food, frankly. Panda is in my opinion, one of the best deals out there if you're having to grab lunch on the go often, right? I get in, give me that, and I get out. It's faster than McDonald's. It's cheaper than going and sitting down at most restaurants. It's a pretty good deal all the way around. 3 times recently I've gone into a Panda Express and been told, we're a cashless operation now. I'm sorry, what? Saturday was the most recent one. Now, on Saturday, the one that I went to the one here in Conyers. I had a shoot in McDonough, and I was on my way to one on the other side of Conyers. And I had about 30 minutes that I could afford to stop and eat. And buddy, I was starving. I had been out all day. And I get up to the line, and the guy says, we're not taking cash today. We're card only today. Is that okay? And I said, I looked at my watchless arm, and I said, no, it's not okay, but fuck me, I don't have time to go anywhere else right now. So I did. And to be fair, I was going to pay with the card that day. But for you to tell me that I don't have the option to pay with cash is asinine. And go ahead and break out your tinfoil hats. The move to cashless society is ongoing, and it is intentional, and it is being done to cause you harm. It is being done to hurt you. It is being done to rob you of your wealth by appending additional fees for processing. It is being done to append to your activities tracking information that can be abused against your rights. Right? Fuck your Fourth Amendments. Go ahead and just kiss those goodbye. So, and there it is. Steve Rodemeyer reminds us it's setting you up for social credit systems. Now, we're all keenly aware that a large portion of our government is so compromised by the Chinese Communist Party that the CCP, we talked about this last week a bit, and we've talked about it before, the CCP is actively operating secret police stations in the United States to enforce Chinese law against Chinese citizens who are in the U.S. doing business and on U.S. citizens who are employed by or interact with Chinese-owned business interests. That's going on. That's been going on for years now, at least since Obama, that we're certain of. And then I want to back you up a little bit more to the mid-90s when the Clintons were still in office, and we fought so hard to defeat Hillary Care. I want you to remember, one of the big things in Hillary Care that got the tinfoil hats sparking was that Hillary Care included a section which introduced a requirement that in order to track, administer, and process the free health care for all, Hillary Care was involved in funding the production of subdermal RFID chips. And if they had gotten Hillary Care passed, one of the provisions was that every infant born to an American citizen in an American hospital, to include those hospitals located on American bases in foreign countries, would have the RFID chip implanted under the skin, in the wrist, at birth. And you would eventually, the plan was you would start trying to coerce everybody into getting it done voluntarily, but eventually everybody that didn't already have the RFID chip would just die off. Now, they got us. We bought it, right? I've talked about this with 1984, Orwell, Big Brother. We have now voluntarily purchased and are operating our own panopticon against our own interests. And I'll give it to them. That was clever. Xander Max says, how did Democrats expect all these people without ID to vote to be able to open accounts to go cashless? CBDC is how. Yeah. So a cashless society is pure nightmare fuel. It should terrify you. You should think of going cashless the same way you think of having us all disarmed involuntarily by the government. It is a maneuver to cause you harm. Case in point, I have this article from the 19th. This is from Cryptopolitan. And this is a crypto site. Egypt and India abandoned dollar completely. So the TLDR on this is Egypt and India are discussing abandoning the U.S. dollar and their trade relations, aligning with BRICS de-dollarization efforts. This move is part of a broader strategy within the BRICS bloc to reduce global dependency on the U.S. dollar. Egypt joined the initiative following its invitation to the BRICS 2023 summit, aiming to settle trade in local currencies. All over the world right now, you have all over the world right now, you have countries that are attempting to get rid of the U.S. dollar. Right now, the U.S. dollar is the trading medium, is the preferred and standard trading medium for all transactions between nations. When that ends, that is the end of American superiority, and possibly the beginning of the end for the country as a functioning international political entity. Oh, that shit right there is terrifying. So this bold move is a part of a growing trend among BRICS nations to reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar in international trade, and it signifies a significant shift in the global economic landscape. That shift is to the command and control of the Chinese Communist Party. It is the Chinese. It's not the Russians, it's not the Ukrainians, it's not the Jews. It's the Chinese that are making the big moves to take over the entire world of finance and capital. It is a communist regime that is seeking to take command of your finances. Imagine that, right? It's like the old joke, two communists are talking to each other, and the one communist is asking the other one, he says, hey comrade, if you had two houses, would you give me one? Oh, of course, that's how communism works. We share and share alike. We take care of each other. Well, if you had two cars, would you give me one? Obviously, absolutely. That's how it works. You know, if I have extra, and you don't have it, I'll hook you up, brother. Absolutely. If you had two chickens, would you give me one? Hell no. Well, why? Well, I have two chickens. And that is in fact the crux of it. That's how it works. As we see all this going on, I want to bring your guys' attention to this one, because I've been watching it and it hasn't moved in a while. I want to see it move. U.S. considers legislation on mandatory acceptance of cash. This one breaks me up a little bit. This one tears into me just a little bit, because I'm never on the side of the government forcing people to do something. I despise seeing the government do prescriptive legislation. The law should only ever prohibit the causing of harm. Now, I can jump through the mental gymnastics and loops and make the argument that mandating the acceptance of cash is a mechanism of prohibiting the causing of harm, but this is one of those very, very rare circumstances where I think that this prescriptive action might be the right move. John Hochin says, hello, Vrinde. I like early shows. Well, brother, we start at 07:30 every weekday, so please join us. And Sergeant Major says, exactly, fuck the government mandating anything. Dear sweet Christ, I love my father. He is one of the greatest men I've ever encountered in my life. And that's not just saying something about my dad. I'll have to have him on the show again sometime soon. You talk about a brilliant and cranky old cuss that has done everything fucking right. Holy shit. Good morning, Sergeant Major. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw you one of these for that. Oh, okay. Amen. So the Consumer Choice and Payment Coalition, which, I guess, this, it's alarming. It's the CCPC. Oh, y'all need to have some conversations with your forward-facing public relations people about your branding, you fucking troglodytes. But the Payment Choice Act is a bill that would require applicable retail businesses to accept cash for transactions of less than $2,000 and prohibit them from charging cash-paying customers a higher price relative to customers not paying with cash. How many gas stations have you gone by where they've got a sign out front that says, like, it's $2.65 for gas, $2.55 if you pay cash, right? And I've got a couple of different shade tree mechanics that I use from time to time, depending on, like, one of them doesn't have an alignment system, and one of them doesn't do certain transmission stuff. So, but anyway, they all extend me at least a 10% discount on work when I pay them in cash, and that makes sense, right? It may take a minute to count and handle cash, but taxation is theft, and whatever happens to that cash after I pay them, it's none of my damn business. The inability to operate in cash does a lot of things. It hurts you in a lot of ways, right? For one, everything that I described earlier, Ted says gas stations that do that because they laundry money. You know what, old man? I think I'll put a little whiskey in my coffee this morning too. But, damn. You broke my train of thought with your poorly executed syntax, old man. Okay. Okay, I lost my spot, and then Pitt Danny said silver is a better investment. Okay, so Danny, since you mentioned that, let me tell you why silver is a good investment. This is not investment advice. This is something an old Korean guy told me a long time ago. He said, "Un chum swa." And I said, "Wait, come again?" He said, "Un chum swa." Oh, un chum swa. Okay, gotcha. He said, "Buy some silver." Gold and silver are both used in industrial applications. Gold is molecularly indestructible. Silver is not. Gold can be recovered from industrial applications. Silver cannot. Do with that information, I will not explain that further so that I'm not giving actual financial advice and subjecting myself to fiduciary responsibilities, especially since I used to carry a fiduciary license. And Sergeant Major says, I like silver, but a house payment would be heavy. Not for long. Not as the dollar is collapsing. So, since I lost my thread earlier, let me get back over to this other one. This is another piece that we should be concerned about. Wait, that's not it. There it is. Macroeconomics expert predicts date for banking sector collapse and CBDC links. The global financial sector is striving to move past the 2023 banking crisis that posed a significant economic threat. Despite indications that the crisis has subsided following regulatory intervention, various experts are cautioning that renewed concerns are warranted, pointing to the potential for a fresh collapse in the sector. In this case, macroeconomics expert George Gammon, in an interview with Kitco News published on November 17th, pointed out that the measures taken to contain the 2023 crisis could indicate when the next might occur. So a big piece of what happened was inflation changing the value of the individual investments that the banks had made, and the banks did a bank run, and then the banks suffered a bank run. When they talk about the legislative interventions, not legislative, regulatory intervention, if your regulatory intervention does not include literally, right, this is not a metaphor for changing policy. I mean literally turning off the power to the printing press, then what you have done is not stop inflation. Now, imagine a world where the printing press no longer requires ink and paper. Right now, inflation happens only at the printing press, which means that the rate of inflation is literally and physically restrained by the supply of ink and paper to the printing press. Now, as we've seen with the outrageous inflation over the last couple of years, and they keep telling us that it's, 7%, 8%, not bullshit. We've seen many prices more than double, not least of which fuel costs, in very short order, in quite recent living memory. That's not 7 or 8% inflation. That's 20, 25, 30% inflation. It's outrageous. But that is inflation that is limited by the physical property of material being injected into the printing press. Imagine a world where they've done away with cash, all the currency is digital, and there's no physical, metaphysical, or even metaphoric limitation on the rate at which new currency can be generated in order to further subdivide the valuation of the individual distributive measurements of total wealth. That's where we're going. That's where they want us to go intentionally. I'm gonna have to make it a point to use cash as often as possible, and to refuse to use, even if I'm going to pay with my card, which I will. It's convenient, fill up the gas tank, grab a bite to eat, moving fast, got shit to do. I usually don't have time to go find another place to do business if I've stopped at a gas station or a restaurant, whatever. But to the greatest extent possible, I'm going to have to employ cash and try to go out of my way to make sure that I'm not using businesses that are cashless. I cannot stress enough that going away from cash is a maneuver to cause you harm. The inflation that we've seen that started essentially as soon as Biden took office. Remember when Trump was elected in 2016, we had all these dire warnings from talking heads that, he's going to destroy the economy because he's a greedy rich guy. And then almost overnight, the stock market just exploded. By the time we're coming up to his re-election campaign, gas is at historic lows, interest rates are at historic lows. Everything that was supposed to be low was low, and everything that was supposed to be high was high. Saw the first serious wage increases in about 40 years. It was good times. And then almost instantaneously, when Biden took office, it was just the exact opposite. Just flipped it on his head. And you can blame some of that on COVID, sure. But where did COVID come from? And who paid for Biden to steal an election? I won't be coy, it was the fucking Chinese. So that's what happened there. And the move away from cash is part of that same maneuver. So be concerned, be vigilant, It's time to call it a day. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it there. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.